Richie B, the party master, on Up and Go.
I had to be consulting with some techies in the studio this morning as to whether or not, if you've set your phone to alarm, isn't it supposed to alarm at the time you set it for? And what might have happened that did not allow the phone to alarm? I had an experience this morning. I'm still trying to figure out whether or not it was a case where I was half asleep and I turned it off and not realize, or what. And I shudder to think what might have happened had I not awakened. So this morning I'm thanking my body clock and not my phone for setting off that alarm. Good morning to you. Not a lot of traffic on the roads right now, but it's building up. And we're here to take you through the pages and the pace of Up and Go here on the Bridge 99 FM. My name is Richie B. Good morning to the team in the building, and good morning to you, the listeners here in Jamaica and around the world. Dr Mindi Fitz Henley, the president of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, the JMDA, is going to be my guest at 8 o'clock. We've got news at 8:30. News, sports, and entertainment in one package called News 360. Come 9 o'clock this morning, Tashae Bowes, who's in fact a client tax operations analyst at Morgan Stanley Wealth Management Division in New York City, will be my guest. After all, we are definitely connecting the Jamaican diaspora with Jamaica. And Mr. Hugh Faulkner, an attorney at law, the current commissioner of the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, also known as Hugo Barrington, for those of you who are not aware. He will be my guest in the Global Connection with Irie Jam Radio, which starts at about 10:13 and goes until about 10:45 this morning. We've got a lot in store. All the right reasons for you to keep it locked where it's at. 99.1, 0.3, 0.5, 0.7, and 0.9 on the FM band. Good morning and welcome. Hi to our friends within the Caribbean, and of course our friends in Barbados especially. Today being election day in Barbados. Elections, general elections, were actually called by the Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, and this is going to be their first vote since they became a republic last year by removing the British Queen as their sovereign. So that is the latest. Today is going to be election day. The Mottley's party, the Barbados Labour Party, now controls 29 of the legislature's 30 seats. And I don't know, many people are feeling that she might have a landslide victory, but we're not too certain about that. Of course, we got some information, just when is it? Yesterday, I think it was, that there is a court motion that was filed as an attempt was made by one of the opposition parties to actually disallow the vote today. And decision was taken by the High Court in Barbados yesterday, in fact last night, as High Court Judge Justice Cicely Chase ruled that the court had no jurisdiction to hear an injunction to stop today's general elections. The injunction was filed by the Barbados Sovereign Party's Philip Nathaniel Catlin on the grounds that more than 5,000 COVID-19 patients are being denied their constitutional right to vote. Well, the judge basically said that the injunction was incorrectly filed, as it ought to have been brought before an election court instead. So the elections definitely will proceed, and we'll be watching that throughout the day to see exactly how it turns out. By late this evening, we should know whether or not Mia Mottley will be back as the Prime Minister, and whether or not she might even increase her majority, or will she have a reduction? We don't know. We'll find out later. It's time now for What the Fact. We just did How the Road Stay. The program is going by so quickly. And let's get to the fact right now. Here it is. A Polish man finds a bullet in his head 5 years after a party. Let me tell you this story. What the fact? WTF. So this Polish man was living in Germany. He spent 5 years with a bullet in the back of his head, having forgotten he was shot because he was drunk when it happened. My God. Police in the western city of Bochum said doctors had found a .22 caliber round after the 35-year-old asked them to remove what he thought was a cyst. They said the man recalled receiving a blow to the head around midnight at a New Year's Eve party somewhere maybe 2004, 2005. And it is thought it might have been a stray bullet which was fired in celebration. And he said it may have been a shot fired up in the air which entered his head on the way down. Sorry, that is what a police spokesman said. So they're figuring it might have been somebody in that celebratory mood firing a bullet up in the air, and on its way back down, it hit the man in his head. And the police said he told us he remembered having a sore head, but that he wasn't really one for going to the doctor. And so 5 years later, maybe he was having a little discomfort and he decides to go to the doctor to see what's going on. It turns out it's no cyst. It was a bullet that was lodged in the back of his head all these years, some 5 years. Can you believe that? These are the facts we share with you inside of What the Fact? WTF? Join us again tomorrow morning at 7:25. We'll have another interesting fact for you here on Up and Go on the Bridge 99 FM. Lucky man. It's now time for our Proverb of the Day. Let's hear it.
Now buy pussy in a bag.
What was that? Say that again.
Now buy pussy in a bag.
Alrighty then, I heard you. Loud and clear. Now buy puss in a bag. First of all, I want to thank you for offering that free advice. And I'm passing it on to everyone listening right now. Now buy puss in a bag. You hear that? So, the translation, for those persons who are overseas maybe, or even here but don't understand patois, let's break it down for you. Do not purchase. Let me do that again. I think I'm going to replace that now with cat. So it really means do not purchase a cat in a bag. That's okay, right? Yeah, that's fine. So that is what the translation is. Now for the explanation. In matters of the head and the heart, do not be quick to accept a person as the genuine article without a thorough investigation. I mean, looking back at your life, wherever you are right now, how many times have you made that mistake of buying, as they say, a puss in a bag? Matters of the head and the heart, in those matters, do not be quick to accept a person as the genuine article without a thorough investigation. That is the way, that is recommended for your own sanity and peace of mind. No buy puss in a bag. That is our Jamaican proverb this morning. And I know that many of us can relate to that. We have another one for you tomorrow morning at the same time, around about 7:45 tomorrow morning. More for more Proverbs, all right? Thank you for joining us here on Up and Go. It's a good time now for you to set your watches and your clocks. Look at it. It's now 1 minute after the hour of 8 o'clock. And, we're going to be talking to the president of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, Dr Mindi Fitz Henley, who shared in a press release last weekend that due to the fourth wave of COVID-19 cases that hospitals have been receiving, there has been an island-wide disruption in their ability to provide adequate patient care because they're understaffed. She also went on to point out that doctors who are able to work are currently getting sick and or suffering from burnout. President Fitz Henley shared that it is impractical for them to be expected to run clinics, wards, operating theaters, and all emergency units on a vastly reduced staff cohort at this time. And she has gone on to request a meeting with the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton. We have her joining us at this time, and we say good morning and welcome, Dr. Mindi Fitz Henley.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Doc. What can you give us by way of an update in terms of what's been happening at our health facilities since you had put out that statement recently?
Well, luckily, shortly after that, many hospitals did end up going into emergency mode or realizing that they had to. And so that is what is occurring now. University Hospital also put out a release to state that they'll be going at 40% of capacity. And so that's where we are right now. We still have many members out, whether they're on isolation, which means they are positive, quarantine, which means they're awaiting results. If it is positive, they will switch over to isolation, as well as the same thing is happening in the other medical fields as well. So we also have a lot of nurses out, a lot of allied health workers out. So we're just trying to do everything that we can.
Mm-hmm. For instance, as it relates to the doctors who are unable to work at this time, is it that they have been affected by COVID-19 primarily, or is that the only case that you have?
The majority of doctors that are out sick right now do have COVID. There are some, with other illnesses, but the majority right now have COVID, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. What is likely to be the impact of, on our health services with what is happening now, with the doctors and so on being so many of them being sick?
Well, it just means that, we don't have the usual capacity that we have. So, which is why it was important for us to try and go into an emergency setting, because it's just impossible for us to be able to run every service as usual. So things like clinics will go into emergency modes where not all clinics are open. There will always be that emergency patients are seen. Certain things cannot close. Like, for example, our hematology or oncology units, those do not close ever. So that pertains to like patients who have cancer. So those are always open regardless. Mm-hmm. The emergency room is always open. That never closes as well. When patients are admitted to the ward, we need to make sure that we have enough staff to be able to care for them. But some of the other clinics will go into what we call prescription mode. So persons are manning them, but instead of maybe having 7 doctors there, you may have 2, so that they can see all the patients who need to be seen, but those who just need prescriptions can get that and then can go on their way.
Mm-hmm. So just break it down a little bit more for us in terms of, for the benefit of the listeners. When you say going into emergency mode, what would be considered an emergency?
So anything that is life-threatening, of course. Any trauma patients will always be seen, car accidents, heart attacks, stroke. But unfortunately, we still have people who come to the hospitals with things like a discharge that they've had for months, that they're just coming now to get seen. Persons who may have that have run out of medications and need a prescription. Those kind of persons who can be seen at the health centers would not be deemed an emergency, and so they may get their prescriptions and they may get those things, but they won't pass triage. So at triage, that's where you'll have whether the nurse practitioner or you would have the doctors there to assess each and every person when they come, so that they can determine their situation. Anybody, again, who has any sort of bleeding, any trauma, very, very high blood pressures, asthma, those patients, of course, will be seen. We have to make sure that we're treating patients adequately. So they will be assessed when they come to determine the level of care that they need. And that is what will determine whether they are seen as an emergency or not. Okay. But just to make it clear, they're not turning away patients who need to be seen. That's not what's happening. Right. It's just that the triage is a little bit tighter so that we can know what to do with each person.
All right, got you. Thanks for that clarification. So you've asked for a meeting with Dr. Christopher Tufton, or Minister of Health. Have you been afforded that meeting, and what do you hope to achieve in those conversations with the minister?
Well, that meeting has officially been put for Thursday at 2 p.m., so we're hoping that meeting stands. It's just to go through the realities of the situation at this point. We knew what needed to happen for quite some time in terms of going into emergency mode. Of course, that occurred before the meeting actually needed to occur. But we have to put the welfare of our doctors and our nurses and our other allied health workers first. It cannot be that out of 100 doctors, you have 20 left, and you're still expecting these 20 to be able to do the work of the 100. It is just not physically possible. And so we have to speak about, the way forward in terms of what happens when we reach to X number, so that we can avoid getting to these situations.
I noticed recently in California where they're attempting to address the staffing shortage at hospitals, and they have changed their policies somewhat in that they are now allowing asymptomatic healthcare workers who have tested positive for COVID-19 to return to work immediately. Could you say whether or not there's any thought given to that here in Jamaica amongst your doctors?
Well, that's not something that we would support. Because we know that when persons are asymptomatic and positive, there are quite a few persons that will develop symptoms after a few days. And so we also would not want for positive workers to be at the hospital and possibly infect others. So that's not something that we want to do. We need to make sure that we can keep ourselves safe as well as the patients. Right now, the patients are on multiple floors. And so even moving between positive patients and negative patients, is becoming difficult because you have to make sure that you're trying to reduce the spread as much as possible. So right now, that's not something that we as a JMDA would support.
Okay. In closing, what is your plea to Jamaicans this morning, especially those who are adamant that they will not be getting vaccinated?
We are pleading to the Jamaican citizens. We need persons to ensure that you are staying at home when sick. This bad flu people keep speaking about, it's just the flu, I just have a cough, I just have a runny nose, my throat is just ticklish, I have sinus. Please get tested. If you are unable to be tested privately, our health facilities are still doing COVID testing for free, always has. That has never stopped. We're asking you to please stay at home while you are sick. You may be able to manage COVID and recover very quickly, but we have others who are out 20 days, 21 days, 2 months. So it's not fair to others. So please, we're asking you, stay at home when you're sick. Wear your mask and make sure it's a mask that's covering your nose and your mouth. Wash your hands, stay physically distant, and please come out and get vaccinated. We need to be able to move on from COVID.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Mindi Fitz Henley. I wish you and all of your doctors a wonderful day today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Appreciate that. A chat there with Dr. Mindi Fitz Henley, the president of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, and that's the JMDA. And, our next guest this morning has made her family, her friends, and Jamaicans at large very, very proud. Her name is Tashae Bowes, and she's a 21-year-old alumna of the University of the West Indies who possesses a first-class honors undergraduate degree in Actuarial Science. She is a former UWI Open Scholarship recipient and immediate past Chairwoman of Irvine Hall on the Guild Council. Tashae Bowes is currently employed as an analyst in the Wealth Management Operations Division at Morgan Stanley, a world-leading investment bank on Wall Street in New York City in the US of A. We have her as our guest at this time, and we're very pleased at that. Good morning and welcome, Tashae. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk with you. First of all, heartiest congratulations on landing this job on Wall Street. How has it been going so far?
Thank you. It has been great so far. It's a very competitive environment. However, it's also equally supportive. So there are a lot of persons there who are readily accessible, there to train me, there to help me along. And so I'm just really grateful that I have found myself in such a warm atmosphere.
All right. All of us here on Bridge 99 FM want to wish you well and to congratulate you. I want to ask you, though, what is Actuarial Science and why was this your choice of study?
Okay, so Actuarial Science is a discipline that intertwines mathematics, programming, computer science, statistics, all that to basically predict risk management in the future. And so actuaries work in literally every industry that you could think of, but we work behind the scenes to use, as I said, mathematics to predict future projects and the feasibility of these projects.
Mm-hmm.
Why I chose actuarial science? Well, I specifically chose it because the course outline at the time at the UWI was really encompassed the three disciplines of mathematics, economics, and statistics, which were disciplines that I was very passionate about, I did well at, and I didn't want to compromise having to choose one. So I didn't want to have to say, okay, I'm going to go straight and be an economist or be a mathematician or be a statistician. And so I found this career which helped me to utilize all three equally.
A lot of students seem to think that it's a difficult course of study. Would you say that?
Oh, yeah, I would definitely say that because, coming to the University of the West Indies, leaving from Cape and Seasick, I was a top performer at my school. I was always in the top 10 of the merit list for different subjects when I sat those exams. Always been a top achiever, and then I come to the UWI as a UWI Open Scholarship recipient. But it was never a walkover. There were times when I had mental breakdowns, times when I felt like I was going to fail courses, times when my GPA fell because I didn't do so great in a course. Most definitely, I would say it's one of the most rigorous programs that anybody could ever attempt to do or to do at any institution.
Wow. By the way, you didn't mention your alma mater. Which school is that?
Yes, I went to Manchester High School.
All right. Yeah, we have to give them a plug. Now, what were the challenges that you faced, though, whilst you were studying at the University of the West Indies?
Okay, so one of the major challenges that I faced at the UWI was in the initial stages, because I started university very early. I started at 17, so I left high school in fifth form when I was 15 and then went to UWI at 17. And so everybody in my class was 18, 19, 20. There were also older persons who, coming back for their second degree or just starting tertiary studies later than the rest.
Yes.
And so I was always forced to adopt this level of maturity where I had to, be more emotionally mature than the other persons in my class because of my age. And so I struggled with that because I was involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. I always have been, but at the university level, it was a bit different because, studies are harder. And so are the positions, the capacity that I was in, they were also more demanding. And so I had to be managing all that, which I struggled to do at first, but then I got a hold of myself and eventually overcame.
All right. And here you are now working at Morgan Stanley. Now, I wanted to give us an indication as to what your current job entails at Morgan Stanley. What do you do?
Okay, so I'm a client tax analyst at Morgan Stanley. And so I work in the tax department where we basically ensure that the filings that are being sent off to the IRS are being done correctly. Can't necessarily go into the details of what exactly, but we work along with the clients of Morgan Stanley to make sure that the reconciliation and the entire reporting process has been done smoothly.
Okay. And you did say earlier that you're enjoying it. What is, was this your goal really, Tashae, to be working at such an elite organization?
Yeah, so it's definitely a goal of mine. It's something that I dreamt of. Something that I also saw as something in the far future. I didn't expect that it would happen so early. Even though I'm not where I want to be in my career, it's a major stepping stone, a major accomplishment for me. And it's definitely something that I'm tremendously grateful for.
Do you have a lot of other 21-year-olds working at Morgan Stanley?
Okay, so in my department, I'm actually the youngest person just in the firm. And I'm also very small. I'm only 5 feet tall and I'm small in stature. So when I joined the firm, everyone was like, how old are you? How are you? How old are you? And so when I told them that I was 21 and, just graduated from university, because I started about 5 days after I officially graduated from UWI.
Yeah.
And so it was really alarming to see that I was not only young, but also fresh out of college. And so that's definitely something that I hear a lot, something that I experience on a daily basis. But I also do see it as a plus.
All right. People are messaging us saying that one person said, she looks so young. I just got that message a while ago. But where do you see yourself in 5 years? Say 5 years from now.
Okay, so 5 years from now, I see myself more developed as an individual and in my career. So I'm still exploring my options as to which professional route I'll take. So in terms of whether I want to delve more into graduate studies or doctoral studies, or whether I want to be doing professional exams, which would speak to the FRM or the CFA or doing actuarial exams. Mm-hmm. So for right now, the safest thing to say is that I'll definitely be 5 years more advanced in my career. Can't say where exactly yet, but definitely greater things to come in the next 5 years.
Most definitely. In closing, what is your advice to students or anyone who has dreams that may seem unattainable at the moment? What would you say to such a person?
Okay, the first thing I'd say to such a person is that nothing is unattainable. Everything is in your reach. It only takes devotion, hard work, dedication. Another thing too is that everyone's journey won't be the same, and this is something that I really want to underscore and to emphasize to anyone that may be watching or listening to this. Probably you won't have the same journey as your neighbor, you won't have the same journey as your friend, but that's life, and that's a part of it. We're all running our own race, we're all in our own lanes, and it's for us to focus on our personal journeys. You might take 5 years to finish your degree, you might take 10, you might peak in high school, you might peak in university. Everyone's journey is different, and it's just for you to stay focused, keep your eyes on the prize, and to never get complacent, because life is full of steps, it's full of turns, it's never a straight road. And so my main advice is to just keep pushing and just to never get comfortable.
I close where I started, and that is to say congratulations. We're all awfully proud of you, Tashae, and we wish you continued success. Continue to represent for yourself, your family, and for your country. Best wishes always. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well. Have a great day.
All right. Much love. Tashae Bowes, ladies and gentlemen, client tax operations analyst at Morgan Stanley Wealth Management Division on Wall Street in New York City, was our guest in those for the past 10 minutes. I enjoyed that to the max. Shenseea, as we mentioned earlier, is coming out with a new single, and herself and Megan Thee Stallion have collaborated on a track called Lick. And of course, Megan is the same person who did WAP with Cardi B. It's not totally unrelated, if you're giving the facts as we ought to. Megan has collaborated with a Jamaican before in the person of Popcorn. That was back in the year 2020 when they did a track. Trying to remember what it was called. It was called Intercourse. But I'm mentioning that by way of the information that we're sharing in the course of my duties. So as it is now, she is coming out with, so it's the Stallion and the bad girl Shenseea teaming up, and the images that they have put out so far, let's just say interesting, is maybe a good word to describe it. They're dressed, both of them, in some kind of a pink, purple, and yellow costume, and it has, they're in some bright yellow bodysuit with a pink wrap around the waist, and they're kneeling on all fours, and their facial expressions, I suspect, indicate the title of the song, or their intention at any rate, and it looks like it's already, just those images by themselves is getting their fans quite excited. One fan commented, "I knew this day was coming. They're gonna break the internet with this video." This fan has not even seen a clip of the video, but he or she just knows that they're gonna break the internet. Another fan said, "Oh my goodness, this is going to be a banger. Booty and barbs." Yeah, they say we love the song already. I didn't even hear it yet. Yep. So this is a good look for Shenseea, and she's definitely stepping up her game, and we'll see what this one does. So note that Megan and Shenseea are teaming up for a song entitled Lick. But who's getting some licks right now is the man Bojo, as we mentioned. Boris Johnson is definitely in a spot of bother in the United Kingdom, as there are more calls for him to resign. And we are wondering now, seriously, whether or not he'll actually outlast what is going on in terms of opposition from his critics. His position, it is being said, is looking increasingly vulnerable. There have been numerous reports of parties taking place in government buildings, including Johnson's official office in Downing Street during periods of COVID lockdowns and restrictions. Persons have in fact resigned already because of that, and now it's his turn to consider his future. Johnson has admitted to attending a drinks party, though he has insisted that he thought it was a work event. We were talking off the air about that. You basically could not understand how he could put forward such an explanation.
Listen. That is on.
Yeah.
I earlier on I saw something.
It must have come better than that.
Yeah, I saw some earlier, and the man is like, "Yo, nobody told me."
Yeah,
it's like, yo,
that's what he's saying.
Nobody told me.
That's Bojo for you.
Yeah.
And now he's being accused of breaking the laws, and they're coming down really hard on him. So we're not certain what will happen, but it's gaining in momentum. As a matter of fact, I saw a report where already there are some of his party members who are writing to higher authorities saying that they have no confidence in Bojo. So by the way, as we speak, he's actually popping up on CNN. Boris Johnson faces fierce calls to resign. The CNN is quoting as we speak. They're obviously following on our lead. They're quoting one of his party members saying, "In the name of God, go." That is what we just saw on CNN. So he's in a serious. I think 6 MPs have publicly revealed that they have submitted letters of no confidence in Boris Johnson. And we understand that a 7th is pretty much on the way. That will be happening this morning. If 54 MPs send letters to Sir Graham, then it means that Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the 1992 committee that looks into these matters, then it will trigger a leadership contest, and Bojo might just have to go. So at this point, we don't know, but he's definitely in a spot of bother. We have to keep you informed. We have a lot of our listeners over there in the United Kingdom, and we say big ups to all of you, all our friends in the barbershops and the hairdressing parlors, and just about all the offices and so on that check us out every day. Big ups to all of you. All right, so our friends in Barbados are heading to the polls today. Polling should have started from around about 6 o'clock this morning, so it would be well on its way at this time. The winner of the 2022 general elections will become the 9th Prime Minister of Barbados and the 2nd Prime Minister since the country transitioned to a parliamentary republic. And it is the first election since they actually went that route of becoming a republic as well. Bajans would have started voting from early this morning, and it's the first time that they're actually going to the polls in a pandemic, and so things are a little different. For instance, COVID-19 protocols are governing the proceedings. They have 3-foot markings on the ground at polling stations. They're handing out sanitization and doing temperature checks. And it's going to be different from what they've experienced before. I came across 5 points that they're putting forward for all electors over there in Barbados. No smart devices are allowed at the polling booth. Social distance at all times. 3, voters will have to show their ID. And they're not required to give their ID to the electoral official, but at least to show the official the ID. And they are not to wear party colors. That is prohibited. I don't know what their party colors are. In Jamaica, it would be green and orange. Not too sure what I guess different parties would have different colors over there in Barbados, but no one is allowed to wear their party colors. And they're also putting out on these 5 important points, they say try not to spoil your vote, stay within the lines on the box when you mark your X, keep it neat and keep it centered. So all of those are some key points that were put forward to the electors as they go out to vote today. as we head over now to New York City and say good morning to DJ Roy.
DJ Roy.
Hear that?
DJ Roy.
We hear that.
DJ Roy.
A little louder.
DJ Roy.
The big man that.
DJ Roy.
Top of top.
DJ Roy. DJ Roy.
Morning. Good morning, my brother. How are you? How are you?
How many bottles of that energy drink did you have, sir?
I want to hear a joke this morning. I some chocolate tea, you know.
What? It's working wonders. Energy levels up.
Yeah, man. This morning I have some chocolate tea and some toast. That's it this morning after my workout. Yeah. And,
you didn't stop at the dumpling shop. I got you.
No, I didn't stop at the dumpling shop. While working out, of course, as always, listening to you, Richie B, you keep me on that treadmill for an extra 15 or 20 more minutes. So we thank you and Audley for the music and, of course, the information that you guys give in Jamaica and here in foreign. Yeah, let me say it, foreign.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How are you looking in terms of temperatures today? New York not too cold?
New York not too cold. They're expecting snow later on tonight. They're saying they were expecting some snow coming from the south heading north. But a mild 41 degrees.
Oh.
So we really can't complain. One of the things that people are nervous about though is this 5G launch near airports.
Yeah.
It you got pilots saying that they're afraid to fly to the States based on these 5G antennas that are put up at the airport.
I think the Emirates have canceled all of their flights into the U.S. right now.
Right.
And there's this big battle going on between those technological companies who want to get the 5G going and would have invested billions of dollars, but now they can't because the airlines are saying it's going to cause some disruption. And when I hear disruption and airports and stuff like that, we know which side we're going to be on.
Listen, if I have a choice to get Wi-Fi at the airport or my plane landing safe,
right?
What direction you think I'm heading in, Richie?
Safety first, man.
So I don't know. I don't know how much more technology we need, but we'll see what happens. But like you said, the airlines are saying they're not flying to states. And we'll see how
it all pans out.
What happens? We'll see how it pans out.
So we have a big guest in this segment coming up in a short while from now. He can wear more than one hat. He's an attorney at law. He's the commissioner at INDECOM, which is the Independent Commission of Investigations here in Jamaica, and he has been in the entertainment business as an entertainer under the name Hugo Barrington. So Mr. Hugh Faulkner will be our guest in this segment in a short while from now.
All right, we're looking forward to that. So in the meantime, between time, let's play some music. As a matter of fact, with all the news that's coming out of Jamaica, I still say that Jamaica has to be my number one destination for sun, for fun, for music, reggae, and everything. So please, hold on to violence in Jamaica. We're still coming.
I think I want to separate the interview that we have coming up, DJ Roy, into two facets. One is to talk to this gentleman about his substantive position as commissioner at INDECOM, which is the Independent Commission of Investigations, and then we want to talk to him about his musical background and involvement, if that's all right. Sounds good?
Sounds good to me, my friend.
All right. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, he's a noted attorney at law. He's the commissioner of INDECOM, and he's also a recording artist. Many people might be surprised to hear that. But right now, don't be surprised. He's our guest, and we welcome Mr. Hugh Faulkner. Good morning, Hugh.
Morning, Richie B. Thanks for having me, and also good morning to DJ Roy and the Irie Jam family.
Welcome, my friend. Welcome.
How are you doing today, Mr. Commissioner?
Yeah, not too bad, Richie B. Giving thanks as usual.
All right. In a serious way, give my listeners here and abroad an indication of what you do at INDECOM. What are some of the services that you offer to the Jamaican people at INDECOM?
Right. Well, Jamaica had some difficulties, Richie B., with the interaction between the security forces and citizens. The citizens at the time were of the view that their complaints against the security forces were being investigated by an entity that had close connection to the security force. Mm-hmm. Accordingly, the Parliament set up the Independent Commission of Investigations Act in 2010 to create an independent body that investigates any complaint against the security forces. And this body gained the public trust and confidence. So, for example, for 2020, we received 1,098 complaints against the security forces. And when I say the security forces, I mean the Jamaica Defense Force, Jamaica Constabulary Force, and the Department of Corrections. And we investigate these matters. Those that are to go to court, go to court. Those that are to be disciplined, disciplined. And those that do not reach the threshold of proof, then, those are dismissed.
All right, so it's quite a lot going on at INDECOM. I remember I spoke to you just recently when there was that situation in a compound in St. Elizabeth. I reached out to you, and you pointed me in a direction. The officer down there was just starting their investigations. How did those investigations go, by the way? Those are still underway?
Yes, Richie B. And in fact, we have interviewed approximately 9 civilians in the matter, and many of them, approximately 7 of them, being complainants having sustained injuries. We have put in process the steps to interview the officers. The main officer had reported ill, but notwithstanding same, that will be done in short order, where he'll be interviewed. The firearms, as per usual, will be seized, boxed, and sent to the lab for examination, notwithstanding the verbal evidence, but we also rely on the forensic, the ballistics, the chemistry exhibits, and the biological exhibits, Richie. And those we send to the lab for examination and report.
Okay.
Additionally, we also play an active oversight role at the post-mortem for the deceased.
DJ Roy, that has to do with the shooting incident that took place at a compound whilst the Maroons down there were having their celebrations. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You have a question for the boss?
My question would be, because we go through the same thing here in the States. People make their complaints about the police and security forces, and they're well protected by their unions. So my question would be is, what happens when the complaints are made and the security forces are found guilty? What actions are taken against them, if any?
Right. Well, DJ Roy, if they're found guilty, for example, we have had officers up to a couple months ago, an officer on a retrial was found guilty of murder and had been sentenced to approximately 15 to 18 years. By the court, and previously there was a series of murders in a central parish, and that officer is also serving approximately nearly 30 years imprisonment. As per usual, the appeal processes. There are other instances of less severity where the punishment could be a fine. For example, we had one in central Jamaica where INDECOM had requested of the officer to submit a statement to us about an incident. That was not done. The officer was taken to court for breach of the INDECOM Act, and he was fined $800,000. But the usual sentencing processes are the sole province of the judge, and so the judges would do the sentencing. There are some matters that if they are not of the threshold, the legal threshold for the court prosecution, then disciplinary recommendation may be made to the security forces who they would conduct that aspect.
Commissioner Faulkner, there are some people who are of the view that INDECOM at times, shall we say, deter the police from effectively carrying out their duties. What is your response to that, and what would you say is the relationship like between INDECOM and the police force here in Jamaica?
Right. Well, Richie B, first of all, we have to maintain arm's length relationship with the security forces. We're cordial, we're polite, we're respectful, but we have to maintain an arm's length relationship to ensure the independence. But I can understand, Richie B, the views of the public, because in any society where you have a high level of criminal activity, then there are persons who believe that the security forces must be given a free hand to just go kill gunman or kill whoever. But INDECOM is here to ensure that the citizen has due process. So the person who dies in an incident involving the security forces, we have to investigate because our laws are clear. You cannot execute almost in a extrajudicial manner someone who is alleged to have done something unless you came under attack and you're acting in self-defense.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are you enjoying your job, Mr. Commissioner?
Yes, it has its challenges, but, it's great when you can overcome some of the hurdles. And from time to time, Richie B, we have to have the sensitization seminars for the security forces, etc., to explain our role. And our role is not to impede you, to hamper you, but just to ensure that justice is done for the ordinary citizen.
All right. And you can be reached, I suppose, people overseas who might want to make contact with your office. How can you be reached?
Right. I can be reached at 353-2795, which is an INDECOM number. Mm-hmm. Additionally, they can go on the INDECOM website and you will see a number of options to contact us.
DJ Roy, we want him now to wear a different cap, and that is that of the entertainer named Hugo Barrington, one and the same person. So this is the same Hugo Barrington, ladies and gentlemen. Hugo, we have been interviewing you over several times, and we've always said to you, even when you're at your previous posting, when you became an attorney at law and so on, we've always said, when are you going to get back into the music frame of mind and give us some new music? Finally, that day arrived recently.
Richie B.
Yes.
And I have to give thanks to King's Crown Music.
Yes.
It is run by Charlie Chaplin.
Big up, Charlie.
Big up Charlie, yeah, man. Dr. Richard Bennett. Same Charlie Chaplin.
Uh-huh.
And from the Jamaica end and from the Canada end, there is Sean Bala Walsh.
Big up, Sean.
Who is the VP for King's Crown Music. And, with the encouragement, Richie B, I couldn't resist the call. So, and I know you have been always saying it. So we went to the studio and we have come out with a production.
What can you tell us about this track? The title and a little bit about it.
Right. The song is called Secret Affair, Richie B. It was previously done by a keyboardist, someone who probably was more a keyboardist than a singer, Errol Levy, in the late 70s. I consider this song to be a very good song, but it didn't get the traction I think it deserved. So, we have given a second interpretation of the song, Richie B.
Okay, we're going to play it. Roy, the obvious question is whether or not music's gain will be INDECOM's loss, or will he be maintaining?
I think he needs to wear both hats.
He has to. What's the plan going forward?
Yes, Richie B, I always say, and, if you look back, Lorna Bennett is a lawyer.
Yes.
And a great singer. And you remember Carol Gonzalez.
I do.
She did a number one song with Buju Banton.
She was a judge.
No Second Time Love. And she was a judge and still an attorney. There's also Shaka Pow, who is a medical practitioner at KPH. Yes. And so I think, if God gives you a gift, you find a way to utilize it, and sometimes use it even for God's own glory, So you try and just manage and, utilize both talents.
Listen, we wish you well. I'm very, very happy that you decided to take the plunge and get back involved. We love the song, and already we're getting good responses for it, and we really thank you for that. Thanks for talking to us as well, and all the best to you and to your staff at INDECOM. Big up yourself every time, Hugo.
Yeah. Thank you, Richie B. Thanks to Bridge 99 FM. Thanks to DJ Roy. Thanks to Irie Jam Radio.
Have a good day. Great talking with you.
My pleasure.
Richie B, the party master, on Up and Go, The Bridge, 99 FM.